Mrs. Danielle DeVita back with another video. I overheard someone say that marriage is overrated. A lot of women say, I like the strong silent type. Well, a lot of men like the feminine silent type. And for sure, it's going down. So a lot of times people are not getting the value. When to speak and when to be quiet is one of the most powerful. She's going to be aggressive, thinking that. And as someone who's been married for 12 years, she's driven, not lazy. And this will make yourself and get on the right path. That understand that you might be doing a disservice to your daughter. If you don't help her understand vetting and proper decision making, now she's going to be a basket case later. If you don't help her understand emotional intelligence, she's going to hold on to a lot of emotional baggage. If you don't. We live in a world where femininity, marriages, family, and courting is no longer valued. We live in hookup culture, situationships, and struggle love. The number one reason women struggle in long-term relationships, number one, femininity, and number two, staying in a relationship or entertaining people longer than the woman should. My name is Danielle DeVita, and I'm a relationship and femininity coach. I've been married for 12 years, and I want to help you get on your feminine journey and vet for the right man today. For more of my content, you can visit MrsDanielleDeVita.com, or you can go to YouTube, Instagram, or my Facebook page. Get on your feminine journey today. All right, welcome. We are live, so I appreciate you tuning in to Mrs. Danielle DeVita. I have a little overexposure with my camera, so I'm really bright here, but it's really good. You're able to see very well if you're looking on Instagram. So I'm trying my best to make sure that my eyes are forward. I do have two cameras. I have YouTube, Facebook here, Instagram here. So first, let's get started with some housekeeping rules. I will not, because of the what I'm going to be talking about today, you are able to place your comments, but I won't have you to either get on camera or for you to call in. But we are going to talk a little bit first about who I am, and then we'll talk about the topic of today. My name is Danielle DeVita. I am a relationship and femininity coach, and my goal is to help you find the person that you deserve. And typically, there are two reasons why women have issues in finding the person they deserve. One, femininity, and I have a lot of things on my channel regards femininity, as far as being a peaceful person, being cooperative, and things of that sort. And then number two would be that you are in a relationship longer than you need to be in. You are entertaining people that you no longer need to entertain. Basically, that relationship should have had a cutoff point set by boundaries and things of that so forth. For men, it would be the same thing, except instead of femininity, it would be masculinity. And to know a little bit about that, some men who may have issues with being the nice guy. So if you're the nice guy, you sometimes may be a little bit too passive, and you're not showing a lot of your masculine traits in that range. So today, we're going to talk about the ABCs of vetting for marriage. And vetting is where you are being a critical thinker. You are examining and being very thorough in the person that you are in a relationship with, the person you're entertaining, to making sure that they have the same values, the same lifestyle, the things in which you want for marriage. You guys have the same intentions, and we're going to go through a list. So I already did a series for vetting and different stages from dating all the way up that lead to marriage. This is going to be a compendium or a compilation of vetting 101 and vetting 102. So this is all you need to know to be prepared for marriage. And I'm just going to go through the ABCs, and we'll start now. So let me get situated here. All right, so first, A, ask questions. Take the time to ask, and what this person's intentions are. You can ask over the first few dates, over the first few phone calls, but you need to ask what it is they're looking for. Because if they're looking for something casual and you are looking for an end goal of marriage, not to say that this is going to be an interview style. This is going to be a very organic and conversational style types of questions. Sometimes if you listen long enough, people will be able to provide these answers for you. But what you're going to do is you're going to ask questions. What are your tensions? What are you looking for? What makes you want to be out here in the dating scene? What are your values? What are the things that you like, dislike? What are your passions? And so forth. What are your deal breakers? You're asking all these questions to gather to see if you're examining to see if this person fits within your realm. You want to make sure they have the same faith if you're practicing a faith. So many times people are not practicing a faith, so it doesn't matter what faith or religion this person practices. But if you're actively practicing it, it is going to matter. It's going to matter because these types of faith things sets around your beliefs and your standards. B, believe people when they tell you who they are, when they tell you what their intentions are. In many cases, women have this issue where if a man says he wants something casual and he's not looking for marriage, or he does not want children, we don't believe them. We think we can change them and that we will have them, see the future and want to make a change. You're not going to do that. If a guy says this is what he wants, then this is what he wants. He may change later, he may evolve later, but you can't make that change. Same thing if you are a man, you can take all of this and make it vice versa. If a woman says she wants something different than what you want this person to want, you can't change them. Now, there is a way that you can change someone, and it's through influence, being the best version of yourself. Is something that you always need to do, but that's not going to be the biggest thing. The fact that you're just so great is not what's going to change them. Truth be told, the way you change people is when sometimes you have to set boundaries and leave them, or if they believe that you will leave them. Why? Because sometimes when you realize that things are going to walk out of your life, that's when you get this aha moment, when this light bulb comes off. And this brings me to C, crossroads. Crossroads are boundaries that have action behind it. So a lot of times people set boundaries, they set standards. This is what I want, this is what I don't want. And if you cross this line, this is it. A lot of people say that, but they don't follow through with it. This is no bluffing. This is real life. So if you say that you're going to do something, then you need to do it. So you need to have your actions and your words consistent. And the best way to do that is have crossroads. I've done videos on crossroads, but essentially what this is this person has probably crossed the line with a deal breaker, something that they are doing something you don't like, or they're not doing something that you want them to do. And this can become a deal breaker for you. So what you're doing is you're saying, this is what's going to happen in a relationship. We're either going to progress and change and start doing things that is going to make us both happy, or the relationship's going to come to an end. And you're going to have to make that decision. And I'll go a little bit more about how many opportunities this particular person would get with boundaries. But with boundaries, you set them, and when a person crosses them, you say, we can't cross this line again. If we do, we end the relationship. If we apply effort and be mindful, then we can progress in a relationship. And the best way to understand how this effort works is this person is think of a habit. You're doing something repetitively, but you have to think about it. So you're mindful and you're applying effort. You're really putting in effort to make the change that the other person wants. All right. And if you ask yourself, well, what if this is, not something I want to do? Then that's when you can go to the end of the road, because the whole point is knowing if this person, what they're asking of you, falls in line with your values and your integrity and your moral compass. This is why you ask certain questions, so you don't do things that fall out of those realms, right? And now this brings me to deep. Have deep conversations. You need to have deep conversations. A lot of times people stay on the shallow end and they don't know too much about the person. Understand, what is this person? What are the things surrounding this person's beliefs and values? How are their parenting style? Do they even want to be parents in the future? Do they want, how do they feel about money? What is their views about money, faith, spending? Because this is the issue too. Some people believe that, I'm a spender, and this person is a person that holds on to their money. This person is a homebody. This person likes to go out. These things may seem insignificant now, but this can add up and snowball into something serious. You don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's always holding on to their money and they never want to spend. All right, so that is very, very important. Um, Evaluate the relationship as it progresses. So many times we stay in a relationship and we ask questions in the beginning, but we don't further, examine a relationship as it progresses. Where are we? What are we doing? What uh, are we now in a committed relationship? Because you could be have been talking and now you're in an exclusive committed relationship. Where are we going? And you want to ask these questions. It's very important that you ask these questions, because if you don't, you run the risk of assuming, and everyone knows that assuming can really put a damper in a relationship. All right, so you do not want to assume. You do not want to assume this is what a person is thinking based on either just only their actions or only their words. You need actions and words, and that requires communication. And we'll go a little bit further in detail as we go through these ABCs on some of these topics a little bit more in depth, right? So, evaluate the relationship as it progresses. Where are we in this relationship? F, forgive. And a lot of times people say forgive and forget, and I'm going to say, in a way, yes, but no. Forgive, but not forget. And I think what people meant when they said forget is don't hold it over that person's head. So what I'm saying is forgive the person, be forgiving. Now there's a difference that you forgiving people doesn't mean they have to remain in your life, right? But forgiving people helps. It does heal you. It does help heal them, especially if they needed that. And forgetting is, you don't necessarily want to forget what created this, because you want to remember. You want to remember why this happened, what steps that you can take in the future so this will not happen again. Because if you forget, then you didn't learn. You don't want to completely forget. You want to learn from your mistakes. So you need to know what happened and how you can do things differently. Now, what you do need to make sure you do not do is be resentful. And this is because you are reminding the other person of what they did. And you don't want to do that. Resentment is one of the three things that I talk about that can make a relationship go sour, and you don't want that. You don't want trust to go away, you don't want respect to go away, and you don't want to have a relationship full of resentment, because those things can really affect a relationship, and resentment kills a relationship slowly. So you do not want that. So now we are down at G, and G is games are for kids, not for adults. So we don't want to play games. We don't want to do this, cat and mouse game where I'm going to play hard to get. No, say what it is that's on your mind and what you're thinking. Adults do this. We have real conversations. There's so many times where people had said things were left unsaid, and then now the past is trying to come up to the present. You don't want that. So say it is what it is. You just say, stop playing games with people. You've seen the movie Two Can Play That Game, and it didn't turn out right. So we don't want to play games, right? H, heart is full of emotions, and do not follow it. A lot of times, if your heart isn't right, if you haven't healed, if it's full of emotions, you don't want to follow it. Now, what I say is you should follow your intuition, because your intuition does have a feeling component to it, and it does use your brain. It uses a logical part of your brain where it takes memories from your conscious and subconscious and things that, of your past, and along with things that you've learned, and it gives you a sense of feeling. So this is something that is best to follow your intuition, not your heart. So don't, it's a fairy tale. People say, listen to your heart. No, do not. Intimacy. A lot of people, when they think of intimacy, they immediately think of sexual intimacy, when the only way you can even get to sexual intimacy if you have emotional and physical intimacy first. I've been married for 12 years. And I'm here to tell you, if you need that spice in your relationship, a lot of people say they're not, still having intercourse. They're not doing these things. And the best way to do that is have emotional intimacy, which means having conversations with one another, expressing how you feel. You may have to get in a position where you are vulnerable, right? So you have to talk to this person, tell them things. And that's why I said it's not good to play games. It's good to be open and honest with the person. And once you do that, you open up to them, you make love to their mind, right? And then you can physically be intimacy, physically intimate, and that is touching, kissing, holding hands. It doesn't necessarily have to be PDA, public display of affection, if that's not you. But behind closed doors, you should be touching, you should be kissing, you should be loving on each other and doing things like that. And that is what brings about the sexual intimacy, because you've had this level of foreplay mentally and emotionally, and now you're there ready to have this sexual intimacy. All right. J, joint. Joint, joint, joint. Is there going to be, a joint checking account? Is there going to be joint roles? Is there some type of roles that you guys are playing? Because some men have a lot of men have traditional roles. So do you want this man to be the provider? Does he want to be the provider and you stay at home? Do you all want to, partake in caring for the kids? Because some men, believe I take care of the work, you take care of the home front. And the question is this what you want? So these are the questions you need to ask. Is this a 50-50? Is this joint? Are we having joint accounts? Are we having separate accounts? Are we having, hyphenated last names as a woman? Are we not? Because sometimes if you have this thing in your head and you didn't discuss this is very offensive to men, disrespectful to some men. These are discussions you need to have, especially if marriage is on the table, especially if if you're engaged and you guys haven't discussed this. Please discuss this. K, know your value, not the value that's set by the other person, but know the value that you bring to the table. And a lot of people don't like when people say, what do you bring to the table? But when you're with the person that you're with, you should know what it is that you're bringing to this relationship. What value do they have in your life? And that goes all the way back to what I said in Crossroads and being influential to the other person. Um, how are you, if you were to walk out their life, what can they say they'll be losing? What value was added, right? And if a person says no, they were just dead weight, they didn't add anything to my life, why are you with them? Why are you with someone who doesn't add to your life? Not just add for fun or money, financial gain. No, what do they add to your life that makes you a better person? And it doesn't stop once you get married, because my husband continues to still add to my life. Um, and again, this is not the worth that someone else puts on you. Understand that we may have different roles, but we are equal in value, right? And L, listen to one another, not fight and yell. I love this song, Moving Mountains by Usher. Take the time to listen to that. I love R&B because the lyrics are so powerful. A lot of times we just want to have a tight beat, right? And you want to make sure that you're listening to what a person is saying. And that song with Usher is so powerful because this is a man who is saying how he feels. He is pouring out his heart. And a lot of times other people that we're in a relationship with are doing that, but we are dismissing them. We're so busy trying to be right that we're not listening to how they are feeling. And this is essential in any relationship, especially a romantic one. You do need to listen. Be swift to listen and slow to anger. Highly important. And this is why God gave us 2 ears, so we can listen very well. And I will go as far as saying, even when you think about rap started out was like a poem. All right. And if we take the time to, now everything is just trap music. But if you take the time to listen, you can see how powerful and moving these words are. Right. So let's go to M. Mind games have no room in a relationship. So many times people are playing mind games, especially women like to play these little head games with people. And that's a no-go. You don't want to play mind games with people, making them think one thing and not the other. A good example is something as simple. It seems very simple. You're upset. The man that you're with asks what's wrong. And you say nothing's wrong. I'm fine. That is a form of mind games because you need to be transparent. If not, you just have this argument lingering on because you don't want to say what's wrong. Right. And this is also a form of passive aggressiveness, right? You don't want to be passive aggressive. Speak your mind, speak, right? And you can do all this without yelling and screaming. It's just called having disagreements. You don't have to yell and scream. All right. Um, nice equals passive. Good. You can be good, but assertive. I always talked about either the nice girl or the nice guy. The nice guy finished last, the nice girl gets overlooked. And the reason why is because being nice for so many people is you're just being passive and you're being a people pleaser. And I don't want you to do that either. I think you can be kind. I can think you can be loving and generous and all of those things that are synonymous to being nice. But you still need to be assertive. You still need to have a backbone. And these are the cornerstones of being a confident feminine woman and a confident masculine man. Being assertive, but good and kind and loving. There's nothing more attractive than someone being gentle, even a man gentle in his masculinity, and as a woman, that's part of being feminine, right? Oh, opposite gender friendships. So you need to talk about this with your partner. How do you feel about opposite gender friendships? A lot of times people can't do it. I say it's hard to have a deep confidant in a deep, you know, relationship, a best friend of opposite gender. Um, I think, some people say they have it, but I truly believe that unless this person that's your best friend is also related to you, like a cousin or a brother or sister, I'm not sure how someone of the opposite gender can be that level of friendship. There's different levels of friendship. There's associate levels. There's friends where you converse, but then there's this confidant, this best friend. You tell your deep and darkest secrets. I do that. I have a best friend, and that man is my husband. And I cannot have someone who is on that same level as my husband. And if you have a boyfriend, then that would be the same thing. Flip flop it. If you're a guy, a girl best friend, unless she's your wife or your girlfriend, then it's going to be competing, two people competing for this same type of deep relationship with you. And that's not going to be good for the relationship in the long run. All right. But ask how, you feel about this. Ask your significant other how you both feel about this so you guys can have this conversation so it won't come out later in your marriage. Um, P, patience is not tolerance. Patience means you allow people, given the time and the effort, for them to progress and get better. If people are not putting any effort, they're not being mindful, they're not trying, then you're tolerating. And we don't tolerate things here. This is part of being assertive. This is part of having boundaries. This is part of having crossroads. You don't tolerate anything. What you do is you set boundaries, you give time for people to grow and progress and apply effort, because things are sometimes it takes time for people to get things out of habit if they were doing the opposite of what you wanted. But once this time has passed, then you need to move on. Plain and simple. Right? Q, quit the drama. This is no fairy tale. Sometimes we watch TV and we're like, oh, this is a fairy tale. Women, want their prince, their shining armor. Men want this, 8, 9, and 10 who is just perfect. They're just like the Stepford wives and the Stepford husbands, if you ever seen that movie. Um, and no one is perfect. No one is great. Everyone is flawed, but we're not going to have all of this drama, all of this fairy tale, and we're going to live in reality. And the reality is, because a lot of times people like to live, well, I know this person and this exception. No, the rules are going to be the blanket general synopsis of what's going on. So we're not going to be playing games. We're not going to be living in someone else's shoes and someone else's lifestyle. We're going to live in reality, and we're not going to have all this extra drama. So that's also part of peace. So we're not going to have all of that. This isn't going to be hip hop or hip hop wives or love and hip hop, all of those things. Um, and we're going to live in reality, in the reality in which we live, because everyone has their own different version of reality. But a lot of people like to live in this alternate lifestyle because we watch too much TV. All right. R, respect. First, you want to know, ask the person that you're with, even when you're first dating them, what is respect to you? What is what is a sign of disrespect to you? What is a sign of embarrassment? Like, I'm embarrassing you. in a way that, humiliating. What are these to you? And because sometimes, depending on the household you grew up in, that may be different. Some people grow up in a household where they do a lot of yelling, fighting, and screaming, and that's not disrespectful, because that's what they grew, that's what they know. So the question is, what is disrespectful? Because even raising your tone for someone could be disrespectful if they grew up in a certain household. For another person, disrespectful is, when you do things only in public. But the whole goal is to understand what is respect to that person, and then provide it for them. Because if this is a person that you say you want to be with, you want to marry, you want to have children with, that you believe in them and their abilities, and you respect them as a leader, or you respect them as your, future wife or whatever, then you need to provide that respect. For men, when you hear the word submission, that's really what they're asking for, a form of respect. And if they are too traditional for you, then you need to be with someone else. If this person is too modern for you, then you need to be with someone else. We don't try to change people and make them get on your program if they're not interested. If you want to be on that person's program, so be it. But if not, then you need to move on and be with someone who you mesh well with. All right, because respect will tarnish a relationship quickly. All right. Set a goal. If marriage is your goal, you need to set a time. And this is part of evaluating a relationship. Where are we? Are we moving towards marriage? No, we need help in the relationship. This is the areas in where we are having issues. Let's work on these things. And sometimes people evolve, they change, their ideas, their values, their beliefs change. Quick story here. um how I grew up, yes, I pretty much grew up middle upper class, and I grew up in a world where we didn't see as much we didn't see as much racism. There's microaggression, but we didn't see as much racism as someone who may be on a certain the working class or lower class. They may see it a little bit more, because those groups are sometimes mistreated a little bit more than other groups. Not to say that they're not all, but some groups are mistreated just a little bit more, because sometimes people believe that since they're undeserving community, they don't get as much respect, and police are more prevalent in certain areas. Well, I happen to be in an area that was where at this point in time, I was driving in an area that was what you would call affluent, and I had a nice car. I got pulled over because my car was stolen, or potentially stolen. No record of it, but I got pulled over, and I had two guns pulled in my face. Why am I saying this? Because when I had that particular moment, my views and my perspective about things changed. Not to say I was oblivious to a lot of things. I was always, you know, um, big proponent of serving my community, civil rights, and things like that, which is why I went into the field that I went in. But seeing that changes my view, my perspective on how I speak and how I proceed. So when I say this, people they could have had some type of trauma, they could have had some issues, something that came up that happened in their life, that they've evolved, they've become different, they've seen things different, they respond differently, and they act differently. Their values, their views, their faith, that could even change how people even vote, how people perceive life, and all of these things. So just because you're in a relationship with someone, it doesn't mean people are not going to change, evolve, and their intentions are different, or their intentions could be the same. They just don't see a future with you. Don't take it personal. Find someone who does. Right. um the other trust in the person and their abilities. If you don't have trust, then you don't have anything. I've been married for 12 years, and I never looked at my husband's phone to see if he was doing anything. I've never looked at anything. I've never invaded his privacy in any way. Another quick story. We at one point had we had phones that looked just alike, and we had the same cover and everything. We both took each other's phone to work. Even though I had his phone the whole day, I didn't do anything other than call or text or whatever I needed to do. I did not look in his phone. I did not scroll through looking for things. If I'm using his phone, it's because my phone is not readily at my disposal. All right. So of all of the times that we've been together, been married, even dating, married, I've never looked at his phone. And there's a certain level of privacy we need to have. At this point, if I feel that the trust is compromised, that's when we have a talk. And if I don't feel that I can once again trust, then I reevaluate our relationship. We reevaluate our marriage. And that's what you should do. I'm not saying immediately cut things off. You need to discuss, because there's a lot of reasons why people tend to be nervous or not trustworthy, especially if they have a past that has pushed them to not be as trusting. Okay, so again, trust is crucial, but this also means that privacy is necessary. I have all the codes and everything to my husband's phone. He has the same to mine. There is no privacy between us as far as having access to those things, but I don't invade those, I don't um overdo on some of those accesses. I don't take advantage of that access because I have access. So if he gives me access to his phone, I use it for only the purpose in which I intended to use it. And a lot of times we're so busy invading people's privacy, and the other person then starts to not be able to trust us, or they feel, and upset that we don't trust them. And it's highly important that trust is in the relationship, marriage or not. If you're dating, if and so this is because sometimes people who have trust issues have control issues. So you want to make sure that you're not getting overly jealous and having control issues, and it's because you don't trust this person. And the question is why? Is it because you're doing something wrong? Is it because of past relationship, or has that person actually done something that made you feel that you can't trust them? And if that's the case, that's when you need to have a conversation with this person, not playing games, not going around sneaking around. Talk with this person. And this is also a crossroad issue. All right. You understand that men and women process things differently. Another story, I was, I believe that we were going to be attacked at some point, and my husband and I both see the same situation, same scenario. We can say the same set of facts, but we viewed it differently. And I was nervous. And I felt like he should have reassured me. But at that moment, I felt nervous, and I was like wondering why he didn't feel this way. He should have been feeling the way I was feeling. And then I had to think about it. And I'm like, do I really want my man to be nervous? Do I really want him to be upset and shivering in his boots like me? No, because then that will make him less masculine. That will make him not brave. And we have to understand that men and women process things differently. And once we understand that, we can accept each other better. What we did need to do is to have reassurance. He reassured me that he had it, and I would need to trust that he had it. Right. So these are the things that was need to be fixed, not how he viewed things, how he processed things. We process things differently, and we need to understand that we're not going to change that. And also, men can't read minds. Please understand that. So tell them what you're really thinking, and vice versa. So that also goes back to not playing mind games. Say what you mean what you say. Men can't read minds. Men can't, and don't assume things. Transparency is key. You got to be open and honest. If you're not transparent, then that's not going to work. So that leads me to then veracity. Veracity is a level of truthfulness and being transparent, not omitting things. Because a lot of people say, well, I didn't lie, I just didn't tell her. No, it's omitting things. It's a form of dishonesty. So you want to be open and honest and transparent in all that you do. It's better to say things ahead of time than, hiding things and the person finds out about it. A lot of people say, well, it's better for me to do it and then apologize later. If you're going to be with the woman who's listening to the content that I'm providing, you're not going to have room to have these, she's going to have boundaries. She's going to have crossroads. So you can apologize, but the relationship may come to an end. So it is important that you're honest and upfront with people. People appreciate that more when you're upfront with them. That doesn't mean that just because you're honest that there's still not going to be any boundaries, because you can be honest all you want and saying I want an open relationship, but for some people there's a boundary, and then that relationship may come to an end. For some people it's not so, but veracity is key. You need to be honest, you need to be truthful, open, because if not, then it's going to go back to the trust issues, right? So again, that was V, veracity. W, wisdom. Wisdom is being able to take in the past situations and your experiences and learn from them and grow. And you can also be able to use other people's experiences to grow. This is part of making proper decision making. You want to be meticulous in your decision making. You want to be thorough in your decision making, and you want to use these experiences to grow. This is why when I said forgive, you don't necessarily want to forget, because then you're going to be in the same situation all over again. And you do want to, oh, and that's also part of intuition, as we already talked about. X. X-ray your relationship. A lot of times we like to see the good and the best in a relationship, and we remember all the happy times. But put a magnifying glass or X-ray, and you can really see where there's some broken bones there. You're not as strong as you thought you were in a relationship. And once you realize that, oh my God, there are some holes, there are some issues in our relationship, you can either resolve them, and that means that's going to take, effort on both parties to do that, or the relationship needs to come to an end. So you do need to put your relationship to test. Put an X-ray up and see what your relationship is really like, because sometimes it's easy to pretend like everything is great when really there were some holes, there were some broken bones. The relationship wasn't as solid as you thought it was, right? Last but not least, Y. Yelling does not make people hear you. All right. So you do need to make sure that you have a tone that is normal. You don't want to yell, because yelling doesn't make the person hear you more. Actually, in a softer tone will make a person receive what it is you're saying. Because other than that, you're just yelling and talking at someone rather than talking to and have a conversation. Right. Again, I talked about the, slow to anger and quick to listen. So this is the slow to anger part. You don't want to be too angry, and besides, you don't want to put your foot in your mouth either. So you want to make sure that you are, have the right posture and then understand time, place, and manner when it comes to your emotions, especially if you're a woman. This is part of staying in your feminine element. Right. And if you're a man, I don't think that necessarily that a masculine man should be doing all this yelling and screaming. The most masculine men are the strong, silent type. Think about your father. Whenever he spoke, he didn't do all that yelling like the mother did. He said one thing and it was done. So, most men speak less. And this is what you need to do. Speak less, say what it is you need to say, and have a more of a relaxed tone instead of elevating your tone. I tend to be someone who gets very passionate, so I tend to elevate my tone sometimes. I'm sarcastic sometimes. So that needs to be checked sometimes. Sometimes we have to check ourselves. Sometimes our spouse is going to check us, or our significant other. And this is part of that. And when I say check, this isn't a bad term. It's just someone is saying, hey, boundaries. And we just need to make sure we stay within those boundaries. All right. Z, last but not least, Z. Make sure you have zeal in a relationship. A lot of times we hear about people saying, oh, the relationship has no, and when you want to know what um, zeal is, it's having energy and passion. And a lot of people say, oh, the passion is gone, the energy, the zeal, the party ain't jumping like it used to. And the reason why is some of these things right here. If the relationship went sour because people are crossing each other's boundaries, maybe because there's no trust, maybe there's no intimacy, maybe there's mind games, maybe we haven't forgiven the person, or there's resentment that's still in a relationship. A lot of these things could have made the relationship sour. It could be simple as making sure that you dress up, because typically if a person goes from dressing up, looking sexy, looking good, looking hot, looking fashionable, whatever, and then they go to looking like crap, it's because the passion and the zeal is gone out the relationship. And that's because of one of these things. And sometimes people are not evaluating, they're not talking, they're not communicating. So people tend to lose interest. Their passion is gone. So they have no pick me up as far as wanting to get back and looking good for their partner, making sure they exercise. Why is that zeal gone? Ask yourself the question, why is the passion gone? Why is the energy gone? Why is the love gone? And if it's one of these things that I said, A through Y, speak to your partner about it, because it's very, very, very important that you do that, because this is what keeps the relationship going. Your zest, your zeal, right? Everyone, that was it. That was the ABCs of vetting for marriage. And again, vetting is having a thorough examination of a person, whether it be their values, their faith, their beliefs, their fundamental issues, their morality, integrity, their truthfulness, all of these things, and you take in all of those things and see if this is what you want. All right, for marriage. A lot of people do vetting for a candidate. You vet to see the right candidate for presidency. They look at their stats and all of these things, or for any type of political party. Affluent people they do arranged marriages and they vet. They do matchmaking, they vet. So affluent people, help set people up, which is still a form of matchmaking. But vetting is highly essential, and you don't need to be affluent. You don't need to be trying to be in some political party in the future to vet. Vetting is examining the person that you are entertaining and seeing if this person is worth you marrying, worth you being in a relationship, worth you entertaining, worth you having children with, living together, all these things. And these are some of the things that you need to go into, A through Z. That was a lot that I gave you. So hopefully this compendium really helped with that. So thank you so much, daughter of Yah. I appreciate that. So I do hope that you watch it. I appreciate you all watching here on Instagram. Adele B German, and let's see, who is this? Real Elvis Derry. I appreciate you taking the time to watch here. I think there's a few more, but I can't see all of the names. If you are here on YouTube and Facebook, I can't see the names unless you comment. So I appreciate those who are taking the time to watch my content. I am in Tampa, so there is a hurricane coming, and I may not be able to stream on Thursday. So if you don't see me Thursday, it's because hurricane's here and we're going through all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and get off and get some rest and still prepare as this hurricane approaches us here. So thanks for tuning in to Mrs. Danielle DeVita. I'll see you either on Thursday or on next Tuesday. Subscribe to my content if you do like it. If you are on Facebook or Instagram, you're able to follow me. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And take care. Mrs. Danielle DeVita back with another video. I overheard someone say that marriage is overrated. A lot of women say, I like the strong silent type. Well, a lot of men like the feminine silent type. And for sure, it's going down. So a lot of times people are not getting the value. When to speak and when to be quiet is one of the most powerful. She's going to be aggressive, thinking that. And as someone who's been married for 12 years, she's driven, not lazy. And this will make yourself and get on the right path. That understand that you might be doing a disservice to your daughter. If you don't help her understand vetting and proper decision making, now she's going to be a basket case later. If you don't help her understand emotional intelligence, she's going to hold on to a lot of emotional baggage. If you don't. We live in a world where femininity, marriages, family, and courting is no longer valued. We live in hookup culture, situationships, and struggle love. The number one reason women struggle in long-term relationships, number one, femininity, and number two, staying in a relationship or entertaining people longer than the woman should. My name is Danielle DeVita, and I'm a relationship and femininity coach. I've been married for 12 years, and I want to help you get on your feminine journey and vet for the right man today. For more of my content, you can visit MrsDanielleDeVita.com, or you can go to YouTube, Instagram, or my Facebook page. Get on your feminine journey today.